On this podcast, we cover sensitive subjects such as abuse, suicide, self-harm, depression, and other difficult topics. We are not medical professionals. We suffer from our own mental health issues. Our opinions should not be taken as medical advice. Dred the Stigma is for educational purposes and awareness for mental health only.
That guy, I tell you what, welcome everyone. Connor Holden. I told him, I said, I just need something simple.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the top of my head was coming off, getting filled with the English language, which I could always use more help with.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone. Let me get over here to the comments. I don't know if you can also see the comments.
Let's see here.
Now I don't know whether to call you Bella or Jamie.
Either way works.
Yeah, okay, because Bella will probably come out of my mouth more
Yeah.
because, well, that's
That's what I'm
that's
gonna
what
stick
every
for online, yeah.
right. Yeah, I mean that's what you go by online. And this is going to be a really good show to be your debut. You're going to join me in some co-hosting. We'll get into why that is here in a little, just a minute or two. We got a couple of things that we want to touch on. And first thing that we're going to touch on is, well, I want Bella, Jamie, I want you to talk about your group and whatnot. And I think that would be a good segue into the first little topic that we want to talk about because it is very important, I believe. And that would be social media and these mental health support groups and things like that. There's a lot of great ones out there.
Yeah.
And we're going to hear Bell. See, now I'm going to be like, all right, what do I call her now? And
There's a lot of groups out there, there's
that,
a lot of different types of groups out there for especially for mental health, but
yeah.
it's hard to find the right one that works for you.
It's just like
It's
trying to
kind of
find
like
a
a
therapist.
therapist.
Right.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly. There's so
So,
many different kinds.
oh no, there really is, and you really have to
Mm,
find the one that you can really gel with, I
yeah.
guess. So we're gonna get into that first, and then we're gonna uh, end the show off with the topic of, and it's just so funny how this came about. I did a live in the afternoon
Mm,
a few days back or last week or whatever it was, and talking about uh, trauma, childhood trauma, and the effect it has on your memory,
mm-hmm.
as well as just, it's, mainly, traumatic events. And, got a couple good articles we're going to go through and talk about that. That's when we're going to test your talking ability, Jamie. And there we go, Jamie, Bella. I'm just going to go back and forth.
Yeah.
Uh, so, and that's the agenda for this evening. Um, so let's start with you. I'll say Bella because that is what you are using out on the socials. Tell us about mental health warriors. I mean, it sounds
Yeah,
self explain, but
exactly.
like we said, there's a lot of different groups out there. So
Yeah, so it's Mental Health Warriors, a group on the Facebook platform. And, I created that to be a little, unique. I want to spread positivity, but I also want to spread awareness of different things. And I want people to just feel comfortable. I don't want it to just be a space of everybody asking a million questions and then taking forever to get back to everybody and then somebody getting upset because I didn't, read that comment or something like that.
Right.
I wanted it to be more open based. So, there's a lot of groups out there that have like trigger warnings on everything, which is a little too extensive. Not everything needs it.
I
I mean,
agree.
I understand the concept behind it, but like
Mhm.
saying, "Hi, how are you?" doesn't necessarily need that
Yeah.
warning, you know? So, I'm very careful with when I choose to put that on there and when I don't. Um, I try to encourage people by saying, this is an engagement post. So I hope, that somebody will engage with it.
Mhm.
Because I've been into a couple of groups where, if you don't necessarily put that, they just look at it and just kind of scroll by and then they're doom scrolling for hours.
Right. Right.
So if I put, engagement topic at the top and then, ask a question, most likely they'll stop and be like, "Oh, okay, what's this about?"
Sure.
It
Let me
entices
jot
them a
down
little
an
bit.
answer real quick and then move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I've done that like 4 times today.
Yeah, and it's not just all mental health questions necessarily.
Right.
It's how's your day going today, or what one
Favorite
activity did you do
hobbies
today?
or yes,
Exactly,
activities. Right.
exactly. So we can all get to know each other a little bit and be
Mhm.
comfortable with each other in that group specifically.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why I have it labeled as private because some people are a little bit more, on on the verge, I guess, of insecurity in some kind of way,
Absolutely.
and they want it to be a little bit more exclusive.
Yeah.
So I keep it as private, but everybody in the group can still interact with one another, and it's very non-judgmental. I don't care if you're gay, straight, bi, whatever. There's so many terms
Either
out
just
there.
mental illness. It
you
don't care
know
what your sexual preference is, what
right.
color you are. We all suffer from whatever reason. So no,
Exactly,
that's a great,
exactly.
attitude, and it is something that I believe would be very welcomed and received very well from people. I'm over there. I love it. I've seen the engagement post. I've seen you post things that came from somebody else. I was like, did she post this just for me? Because that's what it felt like, and that's what I love. And
Yeah.
it is hard to get people engaging. uh Kevin Davis, Kevin, I was just on his podcast about a week or so ago.
Hmm.
I was looking for a podcast to go on and talk about the facility, little TV series, trying to get off the ground. Got a pilot all scripted and ready. Now it's into the finances, but all right, I digress here. So yeah, and that there's a lot of responsibility involved
Hmm.
with having Deborah. Deborah is one of the co-creators of the facility.
Okay.
Um, she's a beautiful human being. She's a great person. Um, but yeah, so there's where was I at? Oh, the groups.
Yes.
All right, what about? This is
there's
such a
so
perfect
many
topic.
there's just so many of them, and a lot of them, it's a lot of responsibility.
There you go. That's all I needed to hear. Yes,
Yeah.
because you got to remember you're not their therapist.
Mhm.
Don't give advice like that. I try to use my own experiences and what I did to get through the situation if it's similar.
Mhm.
I'm not going to tell them you need to do this unless it's something like they are threatening, harm on
Right.
themselves. Look, you need to call now your text 988. You need to get to an emergency room, get to a safe place,
Yeah.
and then your normal. Don't do it. You're worth it. And yes, all that
Mhm.
sounds cliche, and I'll repeat it over and over. Uh, and I
But
don't
that's
care.
okay, because those little things is what matter.
That's exactly right. And that's, you know, I don't think anybody could disagree with what you just said. And that's why it's important for group owners to take and understand the responsibility in their hands
Mhm.
when they have a group with such a sensitive matter.
Yes.
I got background people. I got an audience. Um, but yeah, so there is a lot of responsibility because it is the little things. It's little
Mhm.
things that can make someone's day just like that.
Yeah.
Snap them out of a dark place. But we
And
live
it's
we
one
live in a
thing to
duality, so it can go
yeah,
the other way.
exactly. It's about learning how to communicate with others in the proper way. I mean, obviously, a lot of people struggle with communication, especially today, for a
Sure.
multiple amount of reasons. But when you're dealing with people,
Mhm.
especially with mental health, you have to find the right way to approach it. It's one thing to give your
Yes.
opinion, and it's another thing to be like, me, because that
Yes.
just mean, it makes you sound selfish, and it makes
And it
the other
makes that
person think,
person feel
you know,
invalidated. Like, okay,
exactly.
you're minimizing my shit by trying to explain your shit.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, you definitely want to stay away from that.
I try to start off with, like, well, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. Everybody's different, but from my experience, this is what
Yes,
happened to me.
yes.
And, if there's a lot of different ways to handle a situation like that, let's dive into it, and you tell me, how you would handle it, and let's just
Hmm.
hash it out,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, yeah. And that's why you can't go and blow. I've sent you a bunch of screenshots of these groups, and
Hmm.
they get people in there that will take and complain, or people that will do things. I sent you one. A guy didn't read the rules, and then all of a sudden starts sending friends requests. That's
Yeah.
rule number 5 in their group. Don't do it,
Hmm.
and you'll be banned if you do. This isn't, if you're thirsty, get a tall glass of water. We're here for support, okay?
Hmm.
Um, and that kind of brings us up to that topic of social media
Hmm.
and these groups. I'm going to start off by reading a little quote you had posted originally from Divine Souls, but when I read this, we have chatted back and forth about these groups collaborating, working together,
Yeah.
and we need more of that. If you have a big group, work with a group that's smaller. Maybe you guys can do something together. You
Hmm.
know, hell, we're doing that right now. I have a
Yeah.
group, Dred the Stigma. You have Mental Health Warriors. We're coming together,
Hmm.
and that's what this reminded me of. We're like crayons. I may not be your favorite color, and you may not be, or you may not favor the hues of others, but one day we'll find that we need each other to complete the masterpiece. For it's in the blending of the differences that the most beautiful pictures are painted. Here it is. And
Hmm.
together, we create a story far greater than any single color could tell. Um,
Exactly.
and that I thought was, perfect for our talk tonight. Uh, and don't need to, really spend a ton of time on it, but I do think it needs to be addressed. Now, I think what it boils down to is passion versus greed, or
Hmm.
self serving. Okay. And again, I just want to say this and then I'll open the floor because I know you probably got tons to say about this. Uh, it- you know, uh, passion or greed, there's a lot of self-serving going on out there, and again it goes back to those responsibilities. You're really causing people to feel like they have nowhere to go when they're being mistreated,
Hmm.
and that's a big problem. Myself with BPD has a lot of abandonment issues, complex post-traumatic, a lot of things going on there. So that can really bother some people.
Yeah.
Um, and that's not good. So what are your opinions on, because as we mentioned, there are, other than our own, there are
Hmm.
other groups out there that are very supportive, a lot that I'm in. Um, I don't have time to, check in every day on all of them because I got so many on there, but
Yeah.
I do my best to try and check in here and there. What do you see the main problem is being with a lot of, I guess, these keyboard cowboys?
uh it's a lot of self-centeredness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's great to want to talk about yourself and your problems, but you have to also be open to hearing about others as well. That's,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that's the whole point of starting a group. It is a group effort. you know, it's not a me effort. It's a group
Right.
effort.
Yeah.
And that's the difference too between having passion and having greed. Greed is
Mhm.
very, power status. It's very, it can be very destructive. It can harm a lot
Yeah.
of people
Mm-hmm.
because you're too focused on yourself and how you're just going to build yourself up
Yeah.
versus your audience.
Status and clout, and look at me and look how great I am. And,
Hmm.
where they say some of the greatest, acts are done when nobody's looking, or something like that. I,
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
somebody will get the gist of that meme I'm talking about. And that's true. Um, And yeah, there are a lot out there, and it aggravates me. It
Hmm.
really does. It is something I'm having because we've actually had interactions with a particular group that, you know, wasn't what, and I'm not gonna drop names or anything. It could be any group because believe me, I've seen issues start in other groups. But for the sake of right now, yes, this is a mutual group that we were a part of.
Yeah.
There, it can't be all me. Everybody knows
Mhm.
that mental health is normally always a hot topic.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're doing a mental health podcast, you're probably going to get a lot of people that view it. Okay. Um, me personally, I've never made a dime off of a podcast. No,
Hmm.
I've just always liked the topics.
Yeah.
I was always passionate. There
Yeah.
we go about the topics. One being horror films. My passion led me to acting in them. Uh, my passion, because I've lived with it for 42 years, is mental health. And I've
Hmm.
made it 42 years through all the times that I probably shouldn't. So, of course, that's a passion to me, for me. Now,
But
I'm
I
not,
feel like with you, it's a
go ahead.
passion on a good level,
Yeah.
because there's harmonious passion, which is,
Mhm.
you're you're very adamant about the topic, but you're doing it in a way to help other people and inform other people.
Mhm.
And then there's the obsessive passion, which can go either way. You can be
Yeah.
obsessed with something in your passion, but there's a level of obsessiveness that, if you get to that level, it turns to greed. And that's
Yeah.
where you don't want to go.
No, no, you don't. You
You
don't
want to
want to
stay
take
in the
that level.
harmonious section.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, because you can be passionate about something, and you can also make money at doing what you're doing. Okay, I'm not shitting on that.
Yeah.
Let me break it down. I'm shitting on if that is your main goal, to if you go into this with a look at me attitude, and you do things that would, I'm trying to be careful how I say this, uh but if you do things to make it appear as if you're growing and you're actually not,
Hmm.
what is the reason for somebody to do that? Well, you need a certain amount, a certain viewership and whatnot to start monetizing. Okay. That's a red flag for me. If you're doing things like that to boost your numbers, mine, yeah, they're not the greatest, but it's all organically, you know. And I have a little following of people that will watch everything that I do,
Hmm.
that are rooting me on. We all have people that are rooting us on. I don't, unless you're one of those poor souls that don't have absolutely anyone,
Yeah.
then, but I'm rooting you on. So you got at least one person. I know Bella's rooting you on. So there's two.
It's
Uh,
it's also the whole monetization thing. Like, I technically can be, but I don't advertise it. I
mhm,
don't enforce it.
mhm.
If you want to send me a star, I'll accept it, but I'm not going to say, I want a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say you have to send me them.
Yeah.
It's an option, and I'm
Sure.
not expecting, to be paid for it. But if I get a penny for it, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's not about the money. It's about sharing your knowledge.
Yeah.
It's about helping others. It's about growing as a community. It's not about the money.
No.
I live off $100 a month. Okay, that in today's society is nothing.
Yeah.
It goes by like that, But I make it work. I don't
Yep.
go out there asking people for money to support me doing this and that. I just
Mhm.
want them to learn.
Yeah. No,
you
absolutely. That's exactly that. There's two reasons that, I do these little, podcasts. I do the lives. And it's basically two things, to have open discussion and to educate,
hmm
and a lot of this stuff, which we're going to get to a little bit of education here in the next minute or so, because this is a interesting topic here. But those are the only two things that I want to do, and a lot of this stuff I'm learning with you guys. I'm not a teacher here.
Right.
There's a lot of misunderstandings, misconceptions of people who do these videos. I'm not a doctor. Oh, before I forget, hi Farmer, how are you, sir? Not a doctor, you know. I'm just a person that I talk from my own experiences. You know, I'm not up here saying all this about that. I don't really talk a whole lot about the things that I haven't really, you know, experienced, because I usually try to talk to somebody who does,
Yeah.
you know, deal with that. You know, I can't speak from somebody else's point of view. Um, but yeah, anything else you want to add to these people? I say, if I'm going to add one last thing, you know, be
Mhm.
genuine. That's what people want. They want
Yeah.
genuine support groups that they can rely on, because a lot of people don't have friends and family that they can, you know, they have them, but they don't feel comfortable, and it's maybe easier talking to, you know, somebody behind the
Exactly.
screen. That may be easier. So be kind. Don't be out there, you know, be careful who you're talking to. You know,
Hmm.
got a lot of responsibility. If you can't uphold that responsibility, shut your fucking group down
Yeah.
and get this
Yeah.
off. Go ahead.
Yeah. You either turn it down or you make it clear that, it's just one of those groups where you post things and people read it and that's it.
Hmm.
But you have to make that clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the whole thing, is to be clear about your expectations within the group. If you're
Absolutely.
going to say it's a a public group, but it's just all about you, it's not going to work,
No.
because it's a public group. The point of a
Right.
public group is to inform the public, but also have them interact with you. And you want
Hmm.
those interactions to be positive. So you have to
Right.
be careful how you're wording things and what you're doing. And it's very important to, I think, read the descriptions of those groups before just jumping into it because it says mental health. you know
Yes.
because if the description isn't good, or if the description is me, then that group might not be a good group.
Yeah.
you know
And don't be afraid if you start, you know, seeing things that don't sit right with you. Don't wait for, you know, to be, for you to be disrespected. It's
right.
like we made the uh oh god, there goes that word again. Comparison
Hmm.
with the therapist, and it's not really any different online. You know, just be careful. Don't stick with a group that, you know, is going to talk down to you, is going to do this or that. If you don't like it, ziggity boo, get on out of town. You know.
Yeah, and there's a difference too. It's about there's life coaches, and then
Hmm.
there's therapists. Two totally different things.
No, it really is. Yeah.
It's totally different things.
Hmm.
And with the life coaching aspect of things, they might not always have the certifications, but they know the topics well.
Hmm.
Most likely because they've gone through them themselves. They have personal experiences.
Yeah, exactly.
That to me is a difference, and something that just needed to get said, basically.
Right, right. Hey, try and do a podcast over here. Sometimes you just gotta put them in their place.
Hmm.
uh, yeah, absolutely. So just
Be mindful.
be very mindful. Yeah, when you join a group.
Hmm.
All right, let's talk about, we all probably, or a lot of us probably, have issues with, what was it we were going to talk about?
Trauma
Oh, memory.
and memory. Yep.
Um, yeah, and it is aggravating, and a lot of it does stem from trauma.
Hmm.
Um, that's one of the big factors. Childhood trauma, PTSD. Um, I'm gonna actually. I love doing this only because makes me seem all fancy. Hold on here. Okay, this one and this one. All right, let me go back here. Let me do this, but let me expand it. All right, now I gotta go back over here. Bam. All right, that guy's having a bad day. I think we can all feel that right there. But uh, PTSD and memory loss. Um, you have a lot of notes, and you showed me some of your notes.
Yeah.
And one of the areas of the brain that's affected by PTSD is the
Amygdala. Yep.
amygdala, the hippocampus, and the prefrontal cortex.
Yes.
Uh, do you have handy what are these things? What that we call the hippocampus, the hungry
Hippo-
hippocampus. That was
the
horrible.
hippocampus supports your learning. It formates your memory and
Mm-hmm.
helps you with your sense of perception towards things. Um, it helps regulate hunger and thirst sometimes. And then you have the amygdala, which is for your stress management, how you personally respond to things, your emotions, your memory is how you regulate everything within that. So the hippocampus is more learning and trying to form memories and concepts, whereas the amygdala is your stress response.
Mm. And all of those has BPD has. I think our hippocampus is a little bit smaller. I think
Mhm.
it is. Because whichever one does the emotional regulation,
Yeah.
that one I believe is a little bit smaller, and that is such interesting, intriguing stuff. When they get into the brain firing off, and I'm up for days. You talk
Mhm.
about doom scrolling right there. That's what I do. Yeah. And I was looking, going right along, and you're hitting all of the. I mean, you nailed each one. One of these, I think, difficulty recalling traumatic events. Some people have fragmented
Yeah.
memories. Or a complete suppression of the traumatic event. So they'll just have a piece here, a piece there.
Yeah. There's the difference. So there's the physical trauma, which is, that's more of your medical conditions
Mhm.
and your function and memory processing. And then you have the psychological and emotional traumas, which are from, your chronic exposure to things, certain situations leading to specific memories, which then you suppress. And suppressing it is, that's where your survival strategy kicks in,
Yeah,
and you have that fight, flight, or fight to go through to figure out.
yeah,
And then there's the childhood trauma, which is where you have several different fragmentations in trying to recall those different things, because childhood trauma affects you a lot because you're developing still. So
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of spaces in that don't make sense.
Right. Right. Hi, Lydia. Thank you for joining. Um, oh, hi. This is our youngest host. Um, and there are also as there's different types or different areas of the brain that's affected. There's also different types, which emotional memory. I think that may have been one of the ones that you just talked to, or is that the abuse, emotional abuse, childhood?
That was the trauma one,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Um, but you have emotional memory, long term memory, and short term memory. Um, Daily tasking conversations may be harder to retain. That's a scary.
Hmm.
Significant gaps in memory, especially surrounding traumatic events, may occur. That's your long term memory. And emotional memory, individuals may suffer from emotionally charged memories, either
Hmm.
reliving them vividly or blocking them out completely. And that's, I know people, I've met people that, have completely, it's like they've completely blocked it out, you
Hmm.
and that's not good.
No.
But in a sense, I think your brain does that to protect itself.
Yes,
It
it
kind
is
of
it's a
blocks that.
protection mechanism. It's also one way to look at it. So your memories, in a way, they're altered, they're planted, and they're influenced.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way that your brain is trying to create self concepts. That's ultimately what the brain is trying to do, which
Okay.
means that your memories can constantly change no matter what. You could remember something one way, but the reality is it happened totally different. But you could have heard something somewhere
Mm-hmm.
that triggered one particular thing, and then that altered that previous memory.
Mm.
So then you have multiple fragments of all of these different memories, and then things start to not make sense
Yeah.
because you're incorporating other pieces that either didn't exist or that were, from a past time and not that time that you were actually thinking of.
Wow. Yeah. I have. And it's fun because even those who, maybe haven't suffered a traumatic event, I mean, it's just nature that as the years goes on, your version of a particular story that happened years before
Mhm.
going to be a little changed. There are going to be, I think, or there is those small gaps in people. It's just the aging. As your brain gets
Mhm.
older, these are the things that happen.
Yeah.
Um, but when you're missing, entire. I mean, I don't have a lot of memory of my childhood. I have what people have told me.
Hmm.
There's not a lot of photographs. I don't really know a whole lot um, about my family. Um, I mean, I had a good relationship. Grandparents, mom, my dad was out of the picture for a while. Me and my stepdad. Um, but yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
But so there's several different kinds of mental health issues that incorporate all of that. There's the
Mm,
PTSD, there's
mhm,
CPTSD,
mhm.
there's the what's it called, dissociative identity disorder.
Yes.
There's all of these different types of disorders that can cause your brain to alter and eventually cause that memory loss. It's And when you have that constance of memory loss, it can also be alarming, that can also trigger you in a way because you are forgetting things and you're like, why did I not remember that?
Yeah.
You know?
Right. I've always, I have almost a reverse memory loss. I'll take, and I guess it doesn't seem like it was me. And I have a hard time, believing like it's not like some of my memories there. I can recall it like it just happened. Um, and others, I, I can recall it, and I know I was there, but it
Mhm.
doesn't seem like that was me there. I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
making any sense at all. It's
You're
almost,
there, but you're not there. It's
it's
like
all,
it's like you're
yeah,
split in half. Like you're literally split in half. And one half
right.
of you is physically present, but the other half of you, the mind half of you, that's gone. It's in La
Yeah.
La Land. It's an entirely different place.
And I go into these like, say I'm brushing my teeth and I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, then all of a sudden a memory of me younger will pop up. Maybe
Hmm.
something stupid I did as a kid, which was a lot of stupid shit. Um, and I'll just look at myself like, that wasn't me. I
Hmm.
have a hard time associating myself today with who I was before.
Hmm.
Um, so it's like, it's not that I can't remember it. I just have a hard time putting myself in that memory, even though I know it was me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the dissociation, oh my God, you talk about something that can be scary.
Yeah.
I've done it driving. That's really scary. I'm driving
Hmm.
down the road and all of a sudden I'm like, where am I? What?
Yeah.
Where am I going? What am I doing? And 5 minutes of me driving 70 miles an hour, I don't remember.
Hmm.
No, that is scary and dangerous.
Yes.
And dangerous. So
Yes.
I'm taking you have experienced the,
I used to
the
drive.
yeah.
I can drive technically, but a lot of times I refuse to just because I, one, have driver's anxiety.
Mhm.
So, even though I'm a good driver, I just panic. And if I'm driving by myself, I like you, I disassociate.
Mhm.
I can't handle being alone when I'm driving. I'm a totally different person if I have somebody else in the car with me.
Right.
If I have somebody else in the car with me, I can pay attention better. I know where I am. I know what I'm doing.
Mhm.
But if I'm by myself, I'll forget where I'm going. I'll
Yeah.
forget where I live and how to get home. I'll pass these street signs and I'm like, I didn't know that street existed. When
Yeah.
did that street sign get there? How long
Right.
has that building been there?
Yeah.
I'm just like totally out of it. It's very strange, to be able to even identify that now, because before I had
Mhm.
no knowledge of it at all. I'm just like, something's different, but I don't know what.
Yeah.
And over time, I've realized that's the difference. When I'm driving by myself, I completely start to disassociate,
Yeah. And
and
then
if I
that
have
could
somebody else, I'm okay.
right, and that could be probably because driving stresses you out. Stress being a big trigger
Hmm.
to dissociate and go. And a lot of people have said, "Oh, it's think it's like daydreaming." No,
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 it's totally
I
different.
can daydream and drive my car safely and remember getting to and from
Hmm.
where I'm going. I don't forget 5 minutes of my trip. I
Yeah.
don't, I'm in a completely another fucking place. And here's the scary thing. I not only I think goddamn there I go. I see this is so frustrating. You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
mean, I'll have this good point, I'll start talking and mid sentence
It goes away.
squirrel, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Squirrel moment.
Right. Um
Yeah, memory loss
yeah.
can be a scary thing, especially when you're disassociating.
And not good for podcasts.
Yeah. It's like, you're it's not quite a rabbit hole, but you're going into a black hole.
Mhm.
You're going into a black space, basically.
And
And
I
you're
got I
just
got
out
a
there.
I got a really good example of that when you said black space. If I can keep my head, I had to deal with some. I would go to traffic court like couple fucking weeks ago or whatever, and of course stressful. I wasn't worried about it. It's not like jail time or anything.
Mm,
I knew there was going to be a fucking shit ton of fines, and I was not disappointed. Um, so I'm standing there, but my body, being in that situation, it's like my body started to get that fight or flight, that stressful situations. When I
right.
got up to the podium, I'm standing there, I'm answering the questions. And while she went on a little talking spree for about 2 minutes, and I'm standing there and I'm looking at her, and all of a sudden, all around her started going black.
Mm,
Like as shit was like there were two shadows, and it was just her, like I was getting blinders on.
yeah.
By the time I walked out of there, I couldn't tell you a damn thing she said to me.
Yeah.
Nothing. Nothing.
I've had similar experience.
Anything that I could, by chance, recall was on my paperwork. If it
Mm.
wasn't on my paperwork, I have no idea what she said. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. You had a similar experience.
Yeah. It was in a similar context to that. I had these moments because I have BPD, and so I just remember I needed to get out. I needed to get away. So I just started driving, and I started driving from basically where I lived out towards Florida, which is several states away. And there's a lot of gaps in between there that I don't remember because I just totally spaced out and went
Uh,
into this like black hole where only certain things popped out to me. Like I vaguely remember going into I believe it was a 7-Eleven, and I remember that the cashier had glasses, but I don't remember anything else. I
yeah.
just, everything else just seems blank. It's missing. It's like I don't know when this happened. I just know that I zoned out, and I think I remember seeing the 7-Eleven sign, and I
Mhm.
think I remember seeing glasses, but that's it.
Right. Yeah. That's
It's either selective
scary.
focus on one specific thing and everything else blacks out, or the entire thing just blacks out and all you hear is
Hmm.
noise, and then eventually that noise turns into static.
Yeah.
You know.
And it becomes a really surreal hard pill to swallow when you because I have to put it into perspective, as hard as it is sometimes. I have to put it into perspective, like, okay, this traumatic event, and I've said it before, molestation at 11, this traumatic event, um god damn it, this traumatic event, happened, and I'm trying to wing it because of course, I go off on side missions too much
Yeah.
instead of staying on the main course. Um, Damn it, what were you talking about? See, this is why I can't. This is why I can't take and have a format. It's got to be a free for all.
That's all right. That's all right. So we talked about the disassociation and the blacking out. And then we were starting to continue into, how that related to you and what you were doing.
Oh,
And
maybe,
the incidences that caused that, and I can agree with some of it.
yeah,
There's been a lot of different forms of quote unquote abuse, that have
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
And that's
That's where I was going. That you you have these certain type, and you think back like, man, that one incident is the reason that I do this. Something that happened 40 some years ago, has and is affecting me now. That being, the dissociation,
the dragon pool.
uh, that being a dissociation, and the memory loss. I'm like, holy hell, am I getting dementia?
Mm-hmm.
Which those with mental illnesses and
It leads to
trauma,
that.
it is they are at higher risk for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like sometimes. I'll type people, and this has just happened in like the past year or so. I'll message people and leave out entire words, but in my head, I'm saying
Saying
the
it. Yeah.
word while I'm typing, but I skip over, where I left out like half a fucking sentence. Sometimes I'm like, what is going on here?
That's where I've learned context clues. I'm good at like what you're saying. I've done that many a times before. And it's funny because I can do that and not know what I'm talking about. But if somebody else does that, I can strangely pick it up by using the context clues and be like, oh, they're saying blah, 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 blah. So,
Mhm.
like, a lot of people will show me their phones half the time and be like, what is this person trying to say?
Yeah.
And I'll look at it and I'll be able to fill in the blanks, which is weird because
Hmm.
I can type out a text message and I'm missing half of the information
Yeah,
myself.
no, yeah, I do the same thing, and it's usually the most important part of the reason you sent the message. You know, uh,
Mm.
I'll read it back and be like, "Man, if I got sent that, I'd be like, what in the hell is going?" There's like a half of your conversation must have went on in your head because it did not come through on the message.
Right. It's like, did I say that out loud? Did I type it or was it in my head? Like, because I have no idea.
I do that. I do that a lot. I'll say it in my head and think that I typed it until I look back and say, no, that didn't happen. While we're talking about one of the other things that are affected by um they're trying to take your spot over already. Um, yeah, one of the uh, maybe I should just let's just start with some coping strategies and treatment. So yes, you can do things that can help plug back into your memories, different cognitive changes, which brings one of the first in a list here of therapy and professional help. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy,
Yeah.
helps reframe negative thought patterns and develop healthier coping strategies.
One example would be like, so you have a list of a whole bunch of negative things, and then you stare at those negative things and go, okay, what's the opposite of that?
Mm,
That has been helpful. One of the things that have been helpful for me that is a for part of like CBT.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm still waiting, going through some, insurance things and trying
Hmm.
to find a qualified DBT and CBT, therapist. I heard up in Canada, they got a 3-year waiting list for, DBT therapy. That's just unreal.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I heard. Now, I don't know if that's exaggerated, but the person was in Canada. So,
Okay.
trauma focused therapy, specifically designed to address the emotional and cognitive impact on trauma, providing tools for processing painful memories. What do you got to say about that? Is that
Uh,
something you deal with? You go
I
through?
just finished up mine actually. I had it was a 180-day program. Only have two sessions left of that particular therapy.
Hmm.
And
Or trauma based therapy?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Trauma-based therapy specifically. And what it teaches you is what some of your traumas actually are, because you're trying to piece certain information together and you're not always sure what
Mm-hmm.
that trigger is within your trauma. And
Mm-hmm.
you're not always sure exactly, sometimes, even if it is trauma, you just kind of know something's there. And sometimes you have to talk this out with a trauma therapist to be able to figure out, you know what? Yeah, that was traumatizing for me when that happened,
Right.
because sometimes you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So it helps you figure out exactly what all your traumas are. It teaches you what your triggers are. I'm still learning what some of mine are, but it's been very eye opening because I've learned about a lot of different triggers that I didn't even know I had.
And that's a good thing. And then that's
Yes.
why, we have these types of therapies, some that are just trauma based and, having to deal with some. Nobody said it was going to be easy. So don't go into
Right.
trying to deal with trauma and think it's going to be easy. Um,
Mhm.
Prolonged exposure therapy encourages individuals to gradually face traumatic memories in a safe and controlled setting, reducing their emotional intensity over time. So almost a gradual, escalation into the trauma. Did you dive head first into yours? And what was the plan with you?
That was strange for me. I have my mom is friends with one of my abusive exes.
Mm,
And it's because I was with him for so long that she felt a bond with him.
sure.
So there was one day where my mom was like, okay, well, we're going to go to his house. And I'm like, what? And she goes, yeah, he's having a hard time and I want to talk to him. So we're going to go to his house. I'm like, with me? He's like,
Yeah, right.
yeah, with you. I'm like, uh, okay. So I was just kind of thrown into that situation.
Uh,
Um, but it was very strange for me. It was a little struggling because there was a lot of negative memories of, like, me being pushed up against a wall and other things like that, that were more serious that I won't fully get into tonight because that's a long story.
right.
But it brought back a lot of scary things, and I had to be able to learn how to just sit there and manage my way through it. But I also knew I couldn't dissociate much because he was there. I had to be present in some way in case something
Mm-hmm.
happened. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Right.
Um and strangely, doing that, I've ended up doing it several times now since then. But doing that over time has helped me adjust to that area. So, like, the area that he lived in, I didn't want to go anywhere near those streets.
Sure.
But
Mm-hmm.
now I can say, okay, well, now I have a friend that's like 4 streets down and I want to go see them. Now I'm more comfortable going to see them because I exposed myself to that area.
Right. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
when you have an extreme, fear of spiders, and then you go into a room full of spiders,
Yeah. No.
and experiencing how that makes you feel. You're going through all of the emotions and you're trying to process each and every single one of them as they come out.
I'm too busy pissing myself at that point. Yeah.
It
No.
takes a lot. It takes a lot. And as we are here and we're talking about the brain and we're talking about memory loss and all of these other factors,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's extra hard for me in a lot of ways just because my brain is all over the place in more ways than most people because I have a rare brain deformity.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm missing the corpus callosum of my brain completely. It does not exist. And that part of your brain specifically is what connects your left and your right side together so they can communicate so the rest of your body can process and do things.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that makes
Pretty
it,
important.
yeah, so that makes it extra hard to be able to learn these different things and work on these different things because I have that particular deformity. I have to work 3 times harder than the average person to accomplish things,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm willing to put the effort in because
That's
I
awesome.
I want my mental health to get better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm finally in an area in my life where I'm more intrigued with myself than upset with myself.
Same. Same. Absolutely. Yeah.
Like the other day I said I was angry. For the longest time I didn't know what angry was.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew something was wrong.
Right.
But I'm happy now that I can say, you know what? That made me angry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I usually have no problem with saying what pisses me off. I have to work on how to express it. That's
Mm.
my big deal. Yeah. Not. I don't think I need anger management. Although if you'd have talked to me while I was still drinking, you'd say, yeah, you need a lot more than fucking anger management.
Yeah.
Um, Here's one, and I don't know if you have done this EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It
Yeah.
uses guided eye movements to help reprocess traumatic memories, reducing their distressing effects. So, from what I understand, you're doing something. Maybe it's tapping, your shoulders. You're doing something here
Yeah.
while you are talking about it.
Yes. So
Is it- Go ahead.
that would be a form of tapping.
Okay.
So you're teaching yourself how to talk through a situation while moving your eyes a specific way and while tapping certain pressure points. So, like, above your eyebrow, underneath your eye, underneath your nose, in the middle of your chin, on your shoulders, on your chest bone. Those are like the main areas. And so you're
Oh,
tapping on those points in order to help your body calm down and get through a specific situation. And you're talking yourself through it. Like, today I did blah, 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 and that made me feel blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to do blah, blah, blah about it. And then, at the end of it, blah, blah, blah isn't going to bother me anymore because I'm moving past that. But you're talking yourself through it while semi distracting yourself
right,
in a
right.
in a way. It's
Oh,
very interesting. I've only tried it a couple of times. It seems very weird at first. It's like when you first try an affirmation and you're like, why am I telling myself this? This is weird. This is kind of stupid.
right,
But over time, saying I'm worthy every day in the mirror gets easier and gets better.
right.
It's
Oh,
a similar concept.
okay. some lifestyle changes, and so one more thing to get to before we call it a night. Regular exercise, priority sleep, practicing mindfulness and relaxation techniques, and use memory aids. I mean, writing journals, keep calendars, set reminders, things of that nature. And healing from childhood trauma is a journey that, well, is going to be a lifelong, and unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say, you don't have to do it alone. A lot of us deal with it. You can go to support groups, as we were kind of talking, but you can get some shoes on the concrete to the pavement, and you can hit some there locally. If you have a local NAMI, a lot of times they have some different activities, support groups, things of that nature, counseling and helplines. I'm sure we'll get into how broken the system is in the future, but that seems to be a tough thing to do. Not enough therapists for the amount of people. The supply and demand is not what it should be. And then, of course, as I just mentioned, NAMI, mental health organizations, nonprofit groups, online communities, as we talked earlier,
Yeah.
can offer valuable resources, educational materials for trauma survivors. So there's a lot of things, a lot of resources out there. Boy, I wish I had all them resources when I was a teenager, struggling with, a lot. I there was a couple of times I was very close to not being here right now, and
Yeah.
at a pretty young age, 15 years old, you know. But I do like to. I think we should maybe sign off on a happy note, a note of for hope. Um, I need to get a good closing line, something that really hits. I don't know. But I will say, if nobody's told you yet, I'm proud of you. Thank you for listening to me forget every other sentence. But I'm glad you guys could, join us in the chat, or if you're checking it out after I hit end stream, it'll be over on the YouTube. I'll be throwing that around the socials. But yeah, take care of yourself. Bella, Jamie.
Yes.
Thank you. You did awesome. Oh man, it was so nice to bounce some things off of a topic like this. You kind of, it's better when you can have a
Yeah.
conversation, not do it alone. Great debut. I'm looking forward to many more podcasts with you. Great co-host. Thank you. Any
Thank you
final
for having
words?
me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The more the merrier. And take a hint, okay? We need us community groups to pull together and work together. No matter what it is, if it's doing, little podcasts, you know, we need to work together basically. If you're not going to collab, we need to at least work together. And it's not a competition out there.
Exactly.
Uh, so with that being said, you guys have a great you guys have a great start to your week. Of course, I'll be doing lives all week because I got nothing to do and I just talk about anything. I don't know. So I'll probably talk to you soon.
Yeah.
And usually I do this like every other week. We'll see. We'll see how people like it. And if they like it, we'll give them more of what they like.
All right.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
So,
Thank
yeah, exactly.
you.
What she
What
or
she
he
says.
said. What
Yeah.
she said. That's what she said. All right, you guys have a great start to your week, and we will talk soon.
All right. Take care.